Welcome back to In Ohio Country today, and we're here at the Allen Davis Insurance Annual Risk Management Seminar for 2026. And with us today is Randy Barclay with Rain and Hail. But before we get to what you're going to talk about, Randy, give us a little bit of background on yourself and tell us about your background in agriculture.
Yeah, good morning, Alan, and thanks for having me. I grew up in southwest Ohio, grew up on a grain farm, in fact, in southern Clark County, just east of Clifton, Ohio. My dad was a lifelong grain farmer in that part of the state, and so grew up there. I've spent a career in production agriculture that spans from the seed and agronomy business, and more recently, in fact, more than 20 years now, in the risk management program. Today with Rain and Hail, representing crop insurance.
Well, Randy, we have our risk management seminars. Things that are on the producers' minds are always, margins are thin as it is, and they're saying, look, we want to make sure we can protect ourselves. Talk a little bit about that and how the products that we offer and sell can do that.
Yeah, one of the great things is that crop insurance has evolved a great deal in more recent years. In fact, to include so many options that weren't available as recent as, just say, a little more than a decade ago. Today there are, in fact, it lends itself to really needing someone, a professional or a crop insurance professional who really understands the program, because it's really quite sophisticated, and lots of decisions or choices that a producer today needs a good agent to help them wade through. Today we have newer endorsements or endorsements that have garnered some additional premium support to help producers take a closer look at them, that help to minimize or reduce the deductible portion of their crop insurance risk management strategy. There are also a number of private products that can help with things like additional replant when springs don't go quite as expected, or even adding additional price to their underlying crop insurance policy, just to, again, better help protect some of the deductible they've been accustomed to in more recent over the years.
Well, Randy, you alluded to, I think, something very important. A lot of times crop insurance, we don't see a lot of changes in the program. From one year to the next, a few fine-tuned. But this year, one of the more substantial changes, I believe, is the increase in the premium subsidy from the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, you bet. And you're right, Alan. It's in more recent years, I'll say minimal change but whereas today, as a result of legislation that was signed in early July, there's now additional premium support that might encourage a producer to consider maybe bumping up their coverage in these times of reduced commodity prices to help protect more, closer to that line of break even. And again, some of these endorsements that help plug up that deductible, but all of these have benefited from some additional premium support in the way that many would recognize as subsidy, that helps to cover some of the cost that they've been acquainted with.
I think the couple of the options, I believe, the ECO or enhanced coverage option and the SCO, the increase in those subsidies has been pretty substantial.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, the enhanced coverage option that you allude to, it's an endorsement to the multi-peril policy that producers already have. Works particularly effectively on coverage choices like revenue protection. It's now been available since 2020. And when it first surfaced, and as we began getting accustomed to it, and growers started examining that option, there was a time when it was subsidized or had lower premium support when it initially became available. But in the last couple of years, they've added some premium support that has made that cost much more friendly. And today, that's at 80%. So it's quite inexpensive.
Randy, we talked about the multi-peril, and we've talked about crop insurance and those kind of things. You also have a couple of we have some other products available that can help with hail and some other things.
Yeah, that's right. So, multi-peril is designed to protect for either production or price declines, and that's what it does. But we have other risks associated with growing a crop, right? And to your point, things like crop hail. And while multi-peril provides some protection against that, there are some additional coverage choices that can be elected that provide provide better coverage or help to elevate that protection a little bit. Those include things you mentioned, crop hail. We also have other products like additional replant coverage that help to protect for that replacement cost or cost of replanting, and even again additional revenue products that help protect additional coverage for that producer at a higher level in these times of lower commodity prices.
You know, Randy, one of the headlines, and we talked about it earlier, was March planted beans. Everybody wants, they'll tell you to get the beans in earlier, and we do have a way to help mitigate that exposure from a replant on those early planted beans.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, because with multi-peril, if you plant ahead of the defined initial plant date, in the case Allglaze County that we sit in today, Allglaze County has an initial plant date on soybeans of April 15th. And to your point, there's been a lot of discussion in more recent years about taking opportunities to plant ahead of that date. And if a producer does so, what they put at risk is having no replant as part of their current multi-peril coverage. So again, crops planted prior to that still have coverage for yield or production and price declines, but just not that replant portion. So there are some products available. We have an endorsement that can be really helpful. Not only does it provide more dollars of coverage, but it also buys up that initial plant date by 20 days. So again, if we buy that up from 20 additional days or 20 days earlier prior to April 15th, if that's your date, there's an opportunity to still have replant coverage when making a decision to plant earlier, say in those last days of March.
Randy, if somebody wanted to find out more information about what we've discussed today, where can they go?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So so many of us have become accustomed to looking at our devices, right? And so if you're looking for more information on rain and hail, they can go to rainhail.com on the web.
Or on my website at allendavisinsurance.com or on inohiocountry.com. Randy, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
We'll be back with more right after this.